He laughed. She stayed still. She spoke calmly. They mocked her louder. He thought he was untouchable. But truth was already standing behind the door. And when that door finally opened, it changed everything. The night sky over Malibu, California glittered like diamonds. Ocean wind rolled gently toward a massive beachfront mansion filled with lights, music, and luxury cars lined up outside. Inside, the house was packed with businessmen, investors, friends, and social media influencers. Waiters moved quietly with silver trays. Expensive champagne flowed freely. At the center of the celebration stood Ridge Navarro, 40, tall, sharply dressed, and overly proud. He worked as a senior executive at Pacific Crest Developments, one of the most powerful real estate companies in Southern California. It was his birthday. He loved attention. He loved applause. And tonight, he was the star. Beside him stood his mistress, Celine Markin, elegant, confident, and openly affectionate. She smiled for cameras as if she already owned the room. Across the hall, quietly observing everything, stood Isara Holt, Ridge's wife, 34, graceful, composed, and painfully invisible to most of the guests. She wore a simple white dress. No glitter. No show. Just dignity. Most people in the room did not even know she was Ridge's wife. Ridge had never proudly introduced her. He preferred Celine. As music blared, Ridge raised a glass and spoke loudly. Cheers to my success, my power, and my perfect life. The crowd clapped. Celine wrapped her arm around him and whispered loudly enough for people to hear. Real men need real women beside them. Isara stood still. One guest leaned toward another and whispered, "Is that his assistant?" Someone else laughed softly. Then Celine turned suddenly toward Isara. Her smile faded. "Why are you even here?" Celine snapped. Isara replied calmly, "This is my husband's birthday." Before Isara could say another word, Celine slapped her across the face. A sharp sound echoed through the room. Music stopped. People gasped. Isara did not fall. She did not scream. She did not fight back. She simply placed her hand on her cheek and breathed slowly. Ridge stepped forward, but instead of protecting his wife, he laughed awkwardly. "Relax, everyone," he said casually. "She's just being dramatic." No apology. No correction. No respect. Isara looked at him calmly and said only one sentence. "You chose who you wanted tonight." Then she turned and walked out of the mansion without another word. No scene. No tears. No revenge. Just silence. What Ridge did not know was this. Isara was not just his quiet wife. Her late father, Madam Holt, had secretly built Pacific Crest Developments from the ground up, but stayed completely out of the spotlight. No interviews. No photos. No public fame. Before she died, she placed all controlling shares into a private trust, naming Isara as the sole heir. But the will had not yet been publicly announced. So Ridge bragged about his company not knowing it legally belonged to his wife. 3 months passed. Ridge moved Celine openly into the Malibu mansion as if Isara never existed. He attended meetings, gave speeches, and posted pictures online about his unstoppable career. Meanwhile, Isara moved quietly into a modest home in Santa Monica. She did not cry online. She did not expose him. She did not argue. She worked silently with lawyers, accountants, and advisors. Everything happened behind closed doors. One morning, Ridge received an official corporate email. Bold subject line. Mandatory board meeting. Executive access restricted. He frowned. When he arrived at the Pacific Crest headquarters in Los Angeles, something felt strange. Security stopped him at the elevator. "Mr. Navarro, you are not cleared for today's board meeting." Ridge scoffed. "Do you know who I am?" The officer spoke politely but firmly. "New ownership protocol, sir." His chest tightened. Before he could argue further, the conference room doors opened upstairs. And Ridge froze. Walking in with a legal team, calm and composed, was Isara Holt Navarro, now dressed in a tailored navy suit, hair neatly styled, posture steady. Her name appeared on the digital screen above the boardroom door. Isara Holt Navarro, controlling owner. Ridge's heart dropped. The woman he let be slapped, the wife he mocked, the person he ignored, was now walking into a meeting he was not allowed to enter. Their eyes met through the glass wall. No anger, no smile, just truth. And in that moment, Ridge understood something terrifying. The company he bragged about had never truly been his. And this was only the beginning. He stared. He froze. His pride cracked. His confidence vanished. The room he once ruled was now a door shut in his face. The glass walls of the boardroom gleamed under bright lights inside Pacific Crest Development's headquarters in Los Angeles. Inside, executives sat straight, serious, and silent. At the head of the table sat Isara Holt Navarro. Not the quiet wife from the party. Not the woman who was slapped. Not the woman Ridge mocked. She looked calm, professional, untouchable. Outside the room, Ridge Navarro stood frozen near the elevator. Security stood beside him. A young executive walked past him without greeting him, something that had never happened before. Ridge swallowed hard. His phone buzzed. An email appeared on his screen. Subject: Executive status under review, immediate effect. His hands began to shake. Inside the boardroom, Isara spoke softly but firmly. "Good morning. Thank you for attending." Her voice filled the room. A senior lawyer cleared his throat. "For the record, all controlling shares of Pacific Crest Developments are now legally transferred to Mrs. Isara Holt Navarro." No drama. No applause. Just reality. Ridge pressed his face slightly against the glass wall, watching his wife sit where he once Saturday. He felt smaller than ever. After the meeting ended, Isara walked out calmly with her legal team. Ridge rushed toward her. "Isara, we need to talk," he said quickly. She stopped. Her eyes were steady. "What do you want, Ridge?" His confidence was gone. "I didn't know you owned the company," he whispered. She tilted her head slightly. "You didn't need to know my ownership. You needed to respect me as your wife." Her words cut deeper than any slap. People nearby heard everything. Ridge felt exposed. That same afternoon, Ridge returned to his office. But when he reached his floor, his key card beeped red. Access denied. A security officer approached politely. "Mr. Navarro, please come with me to HR." His chest tightened. Inside HR, a calm woman spoke clearly. "Due to today's legal developments and conflict of interest, your executive role is being reassigned to senior consultant, effective immediately." Ridge stared at the table. No corner office. No top floor access. No executive parking. Same company, but less power. That hurt more than being fired. That evening, Ridge went back to the Malibu mansion. Celine was waiting for him, sipping wine on the balcony. She smiled at first. But when she saw his face, her smile faded. "What happened?" she asked sharply. He dropped his bag on the couch. "Isara owns the company," he said quietly. Celine laughed at first. Then she saw he was serious. Her expression changed. "You mean, the company you brag about belongs to her?" He nodded slowly. She set her glass down. "So what does that mean for us?" Ridge swallowed. Before he could answer, his phone buzzed again. A formal notice appeared. Property status review. Trust-linked asset. His heart sank. The Malibu mansion was legally connected to Pacific Crest Holdings through old investment agreements tied to Isara's late mother's trust. Now that Isara controlled the trust, everything was under review. Celine read over his shoulder. Her face went pale. "You told me this house was secure," she snapped. Ridge rubbed his temples. "I thought it was." She folded her arms. "I didn't leave my life for uncertainty." Silence filled the room. Across town, Isara sat in a glass office overlooking the Pacific. Lawyers spread documents neatly across a long table. One attorney spoke gently. "Mrs. Navarro, you have full authority over all trust-linked assets, including the Malibu property. Isara listened carefully. She did not look angry. She looked thoughtful. After a long pause, she said quietly, "This is not about revenge. This is about clarity." She signed one document slowly. "Begin formal ownership review." With that single signature, everything shifted. Not loudly, not violently, but legally, and completely. The next morning, an official letter arrived at Ridge's door. Bold letters at the top. Occupancy under corporate review. Final decision pending. Ridge sat at the kitchen island and read it again and again. His hands shook. He tried calling Isara. She answered on the second ring. His voice trembled. "I made a terrible mistake." Her voice was calm. "Your mistake started the night you let another woman slap me." Silence sat between them. He whispered, "I'm sorry." She paused. "I accept your apology, but acceptance is not a reunion." The line went quiet. By nightfall, headlines spread online. Hidden heiress revealed as owner of Pacific Crest Developments. Pictures of Isara appeared, composed, dignified, steady. Ridge saw them on his phone. He sat alone in the mansion he once bragged about. Quiet, empty, uncertain. For the first time, he understood something painful. He was not losing because of bad luck. He was losing because of bad choices. And the truth he mocked had finally caught up with him. He tried to sleep. He couldn't. He tried to think straight. His mind raced. He tried to act normal. Nothing felt normal anymore. Ridge Navarro was no longer the man who ruled every room. 2 days passed slowly in the Malibu mansion. The ocean still looked beautiful. The music still played softly. But the joy was gone. Celine barely spoke to Ridge. She stayed on her phone most of the time, scrolling, reading, and watching videos about Isara. Every headline made her more uneasy. One morning, another official letter arrived. Bold words at the top. Final property review. Occupancy decision pending. Ridge sat at the marble kitchen island and stared at the paper. His hands trembled. For the first time, he truly understood. He might lose the house he bragged about. Not because of revenge, but because of law. That same day, he went to Pacific Crest Developments in Los Angeles. The building still shined in the sun, glass, steel, and ocean view. But when he walked in, everything felt colder. No warm greetings. No respectful nods. At the elevator, his badge beeped red. Access restricted. Security approached politely. "Mr. Navarro, please come with me to HR." No drama. No shouting. Just quiet reality. Inside HR, the manager spoke calmly. "Your executive position has been reassessed. Due to conflict of interest, you are now officially reassigned to senior consultant." Ridge stared at the table. No corner office. No top floor access. No private parking. Same company, but lower status. That hurt more than losing money. That evening, Ridge called Isara again. She answered. Her voice was steady, not angry, not cruel, just distant. "Why are you calling, Ridge?" He swallowed hard. "I messed up." Silence hung between them. She replied gently. "You didn't lose me because of business. You lost me because you disrespected me in public." His chest tightened. Tears filled his eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispered. She paused. "I accept your apology. But that does not mean we return to the past." The call ended softly. A week later came the final divorce hearing. The courtroom was calm. No shouting. No chaos. The judge spoke clearly. Because the Malibu mansion was legally tied to Pacific Crest's corporate holdings, which now belonged to Isara, it was not considered marital property. Ridge would only keep what he personally earned during the marriage. When the judge finished, Ridge's face went pale. He understood in front of everyone. He would have to leave the house. No fight. No drama. Just legal truth. 2 days later, movers arrived. Boxes filled the living room. Ridge walked slowly through each room. The bedroom where he once laughed with Isara. The balcony where she drank quiet morning coffee. The hall where Celine slapped her. Now, everything felt different. He stepped outside, stood on the driveway, and looked back at the mansion one last time. His voice trembled. I thought I was winning, but I was losing. Then he walked away. Across town, Isara sat in a bright glass office overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Her name was now displayed in the lobby. Isara Holt Navarro, controlling owner. Executives spoke respectfully. One senior director said, "Your leadership has already brought stability to the company." Isara nodded calmly. "This was never about revenge," she said softly. "It was about responsibility." She signed another document. Begin full compliance review across all departments. Her voice was quiet, but powerful. That night, Ridge saw her on a business channel. Headline: Hidden Heiress Takes Control of Pacific Crest Developments. The reporter asked, "Do you feel victorious after everything that happened?" Isara smiled gently. "I don't win when someone loses. I win when I stay true to myself." Ridge sat alone in his small new apartment in Santa Monica. No ocean mansion. No marble floors. No spotlight. Just silence. He finally understood. He did not lose because of bad luck. He lost because of bad choices. And the truth he mocked had finally caught up with him. 3 weeks passed. 3 long, quiet weeks. Ridge Navarro woke up every morning in a small rented apartment in Santa Monica. No ocean mansion. No luxury. No respect at work. Just silence and regret. Celine moved out after the court ruling. She said she didn't sign up for this life. She left with cold words, not love. Ridge sat alone most nights, staring at his phone, scrolling through business news about Isara. Every headline reminded him of one painful truth. He walked away from his greatest blessing. One morning, Ridge received an official email. Subject: Termination of consultant contract, Pacific Crest Developments. His heart dropped. He read slowly. Due to restructuring under new ownership, his role was no longer needed. No more office. No more paycheck. No more access. He put his head in his hands. For the first time in years, he felt completely powerless. Not because of Isara, but because of his own choices. That same day, Isara held a press conference in Los Angeles. Standing in front of a glass skyline, she spoke calmly. This company will no longer reward disrespect, manipulation, or corruption. We will build with integrity. Reporters listened in silence. A young journalist asked, "Do you hold anger toward your ex-husband?" Isara smiled gently. "Anger fades. Truth stays." Her answer spread everywhere. Ridge watched it live on his phone. Tears filled his eyes. He whispered softly, "I lost a queen, because I wanted a crowd." 2 days later, Ridge decided to do something different. He went back to the courthouse. Not for business. Not for drama. For closure. He requested permission to send a formal letter to Isara through legal channels. In that letter, he wrote in simple words, "I did not lose you because of money. I lost you because I did not value you when I had you. I take full responsibility. I wish you peace." No excuses. No blame. Just truth. Isara received the letter. She read it slowly. Then she placed it gently on her desk. She did not reply with anger, only with silence. Sometimes, silence is the loudest answer. 1 month later, Pacific Crest Developments announced a massive community housing project in California. Affordable homes. Better schools. Cleaner neighborhoods. Isara's name was tied to every headline, not as a victim, but as a leader. Meanwhile, Ridge worked part-time in real estate consulting, far from his old life. Humble. Quiet. Changed. He often looked at old pictures of Isara on his phone. He no longer saw a weak wife. He saw a woman he never truly understood. One evening, he walked along the Santa Monica Pier at sunset. Waves crashed softly. The sky turned orange and gold. He stood still and spoke to himself. I thought power was control. Now I know power is respect. And in that moment, he accepted his reality. Not as punishment, but as a lesson. Across the city, Isara stood in her bright glass office overlooking the Pacific. Calm, strong, free. She did not look back in anger. She looked forward with purpose. Her story was no longer about betrayal. It was about dignity. Not revenge, but growth. Not shame, but strength. If this story touched your heart, type respect in the comments. If you believe that no woman should ever be disrespected, hit the like button right now. And if you love stories where truth always wins, subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next story will shock you even more. Remember this. You don't lose when people leave you. You lose when you lose your character. And respect is never optional.